Guys, so today I decided I want to show you guys how to make a beat out of basically any sound. It's just going to be household items. So I'm going to go through this audio. I'm going to make a kick, snare, hi-hat, bass, and then some sort of a one shot like a bell. So this is going to end up being my snare. It's just me like striking a lighter. I'm trying to kind of match the waveform to what an actual snare would look like. So you see you got a transient right here and a nice little tail. And then from there, that's when you start adding effects to build onto it, to add character to it and make it actually sound more authentic. So go ahead and normalize it. We'll put it on stretch. Cut itself. I'm going to trim this a little bit for the extra noise. Just get rid of all this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of some of that bass. So in a snare, you need a little bit of this low end. We get that little punch that you're looking for before. After. And I'm going to go ahead and use Wave Shaper. Farther left you go, stronger it's going to be. Louder it'll be going up. That gives us a little more punch. I'm going to go ahead and downshift this. 12 semitones. Since I have it in stretch, you can fuck with the time and it'll keep your same pitch. So I'm going to go ahead and stretch this out. Key doesn't really matter as of now. Just find a tone you like. So it still needs a lot more power, and I'm going to go ahead and get another EQ. I'm going to add knock. So now I think it needs more of a tail, so I'm going to add a little bit of reverb to it. Here's before. Here's after. Doesn't do too much, just adds a little tail. So I went back here and I trimmed this a little more. It gives it more of a transient. So this is that. And also I went here and I boosted it to clip it. So that gives it a lot more of that power. Okay, so after fine tuning it with the EQ, this is what I have now. And usually once I start adding in like my drum and hi-hat and all the other stuff, you got to come back through pretty much each one of these and kind of blend them all together. I'm going to show you guys the before and after of everything. So here's the original clip. Remember, this is me just striking a lighter. And this is going to be after all of these effects right here. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys the kick drum now. I'm going to trim it a little bit. Send it down 12 semitones. Stretch a little bit. Okay, so for this part, I'm going to go ahead and solo one of these and make it really narrow. And you're pretty much looking for the fundamental frequency, which is basically that main frequency in a sound that sticks out the most. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to solo this one frequency out. Now let's use a wave shaper again. EQ. Okay, so after adding knock, so I'm gonna pull up another EQ. I'm gonna try the transient shaper again. So there you go, you get that nice punch. I like that. I still want it a little shorter. We're gonna drop this again. There you go. Okay, so after the transient shaper, I ended up going back here and I just shortened the envelope a lot, so it's a lot more punchy. And I added knock on too, because that took some of the power out of it. Alright, so I forgot to tune the kick, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Put a tuner on your master track, turn your activity up around here somewhere, and turn on your bass. And we're just going to go ahead and play. It'll tell us our key. Alright, so we're hitting F. So now we're going to go over here, right click F, and now when you play, now you're hitting C. Okay, so now you're hitting C, but as you can see, you're still a little off. So you're going to go over here, make sure it's at 2, and you're just going to bring this up slightly. So play it. Okay, there you go. Close enough. You could fuck with this if you really want, but I'm happy with that. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys how to make the hi-hat, and this is like the easiest thing in the world. You could do this with anything. Like, you could probably jerk off into a microphone and make a hi-hat. So this is me putting the cap onto a Sharpie. Alright, so go ahead, do that. Alright, there you go. You're pretty much done right there. Now you just go in and fine tune it a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and use a transient shaper. Pretty much it, honestly. All right, so I ended up making a really simple drum loop, and like I said, I had to go and fine tune some shit. So for the snare, I went and shortened the decay on this a little bit. It's pretty long. The hi-hat as well, I tweaked that one a little bit, and the length. I put all of those in here, so this is the kick. I ended up adding knock again, and then a limiter just to really boost it. And snare, I just EQ'd out some of that low end, but I'll go ahead and play it out for you guys. Alright guys, next I'm going to make some kind of a one-shot, probably going to be like a bell. I recorded myself shaking a water bottle. Okay, so I found this. It's one of the first shakes. You're just looking for some kind of a tone within that you can solo out like we did for the kick. So that little swish, I want to steal that. So you can hear right up in here, that has what I'm looking for. And I solo this as narrow as it can go, because I'm looking for like one little tone. So avoid shit like this. Really sharp. That one. There you go. Okay, so I went ahead and tuned it as well. So this is what it sounds like. Not too bad. So I went ahead and trimmed it and stretched it slightly. Now I'll do the EQ method again. Okay, so now you need more high end. Way you could do that is saturation, some distortion. The way I like doing it, I like using more of like a bit crusher type of sound. Okay, so after adding the bit crusher, look over here and you'll see how much that helped. I'm gonna go ahead and add some of the reverb. Go ahead and add a delay. And I'm to the point now, I'm just kind of experimenting a little bit more. After adding all of that, this is what I have. Alright, ended up coming up with this. Okay, so I ended up bouncing this into a waveform. Alright, so after fucking with it for a while, I ended up throwing on all of this, reversed it, and then stretched it out 2 times what it was. So this is gonna be that. So time to make the bass. I'm just gonna make a sub bass, and this one's fairly easy as well. You're just looking for something really flat and boring like this. So that's just me rubbing my hand on a piece of foam. Let's go ahead and normalize and stretch. Cut itself, put it on mono and porta. You don't have to do this, but I like my shit to slide. Truncate this. Okay, so there you go. All that basically is white noise, and you'd be amazed what you can do with white noise. Okay. Everything on the high you don't need, it's irrelevant. Okay, so after that, we get this. Same thing as last time, as narrow as you can get it. You're just looking for something tonal. Record that on its own. Go ahead and solo this out again. Okay, so after I did that, have its own waveform now. You're gonna go ahead, drop it down another octave. You're gonna go over here. So you got all this. I don't want that. I want it to be nice and flat. Just like that. Go to crossfade, or length. It doesn't have to be perfect. As even as you can get it, like that. There you go. You got your bass. Be sure to cut itself. And the last thing to do for that is tune it. Alright, so after that, we get this. Alright. I got like super into it, wasn't really talking about it, but here's before. Like non-existent. I'll break it down really quick. So this is just with knock, put saturation and clipped it. Put a wave shaper and this really crunches it up. Then EQ'd out all that crunch. Then we go back to knock, clip a little bit more. And then a limiter. That's just to keep it nice and flat, easy to level it out. I'll go ahead and make a really simple bass line, just kind of layer the root notes or whatever. Show you guys that, and that should be the video.